This is the G Podcast with your host, Tommy B.
News team, assemble!
It's time for the Week in News with Syracuse Myke.
The Philadelphia Eagles prevented the Kansas City Chiefs from getting that Super Bowl three-peat. The final score 40-22, and the game was not even that close. This year's MVP, Philly QB, Jalen Hurts. As he said he would, President Trump has expanded tariffs on steel and aluminum.
It's 25% without exceptions or exemptions, and that's all countries, no matter where it comes from, all countries. If made in the United States, however, United States of America, there is no tariff, zero.
Materials for cars and for construction could cost more. The announcement Monday night ends exemptions that certain countries have been receiving. The changes are not due to go into effect until March 4th, which would give some countries a chance to negotiate a deal to get around the tariffs. The Federal Board on Geographic Names has formally changed the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. That change was one of the many executive orders signed by President Trump. So what does this mean? Nothing if you live in another country. The change doesn't affect what other countries call it, and Mexico's president says she will ignore the order and has asked everybody else to also ignore it. A Boston federal judge has ruled that the Trump administration can move forward, for now, with its buyout offer for federal employees. It's a win for the Trump administration, which is moving at a rapid pace to downsize government. At least 65,000 workers had accepted the package as of a week ago when Judge George O'Toole paused the deadline. President Trump said he spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin, and they have agreed to begin negotiations to broker a ceasefire in Ukraine. That news on Wednesday came on the same day that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said Ukraine would have to give up land and their efforts to join NATO. He said that would be necessary in order to reach a deal. It also appears that European fears concerning Ukraine's president's role are legitimate, since he was not part of the high-level conversation, although President Volodymyr Zelensky was publicly positive about the U.S.-Russia phone call. After Trump spoke with Putin, he then called Zelensky. But was he invited to a planned meeting in Saudi Arabia that will include the U.S. president and Putin?
Probably we'll have a first meeting, and then we'll see what we can do about the second meeting.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was confirmed in another party line vote by the Senate to head Health and Human Services. Republican Senator Mitch McConnell once again joined Democrats to oppose the nomination. McConnell has now voted against 3 of Trump's cabinet nominees. Both of Georgia's senators, who are Democrats, also voted no on Kennedy. That's Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff.
He said some pretty wild stuff about public health over and over.
Oh, I wanted to get the news out of the way, because of our guest, so we can actually breathe. Because that's what I do every time I hear the news. I have to breathe. So thank you, guest, for hanging around, Michele. And I'll introduce you formally in just a minute. Welcome, y'all, to episode 256 of This is the G Podcast. Yes, yes, yes. You know it. Your weekly recap podcast. We do news, politics, pop culture, that piping hot tea from the one and only Tanya B. Tanya B, what's up? Yes.
This is somewhere in America.
What's the song? Grover Washington, just the two of us.
That's okay. Somewhere in America. That's where I'll be.
Hey, there you go. So, gotta say what's up to Tanya B in the building. Thank you so much. Busy weekend. Of course, February Black History Month. You got the NBA All-Star Weekend happening as we tape. Tanya B, you're gonna. Yeah, it is. See, look, I got to get to that when you do the tea. The fact that you're going, is it? That's a problem.
Oh, for real though? Okay.
Yes, it is for real though. And SNL 50 weekend, you're going to talk about that in the tea.
Yeah.
And they're going to cap it, I guess, at the end of it with the 3-hour special that's happening on the 16th. You'll talk about that as well. And of course, it's Valentine's weekend. Shout out to the fellas who did it right. And you'll get to our guest. You can see her background. Somebody did it right.
Yeah, not in my house. No, but
hey, I do want to let you guys know that if you have Spotify, follow us at This Is the G Podcast, and you can view the show because in a lot of cases we have things that are visual. As a matter of fact, today's kind of visual, And you can also listen to the show. If you follow us on Spotify, you can comment, and you can also participate in a poll. And as a matter of fact, we do. Let me take a look at this still there. Yes, it is. We have a poll on episode 255 about Kendrick Lamar's performance. And Michele from Yoga Moxi was asking us about what we thought about it. And I guess you'll get to that a little bit in the tea as well. So shout out again to Tanya B. Shout out again. Vi's out this week. We witnessed Vi, and yeah, he could not go on. The show could not go on today.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good.
It was a good night.
Apparently so.
Apparently.
Not in my house.
Talib, what's up, man? Shout out to Talib. He couldn't make it today. But got to shout out a friend of the podcast, Michele from Yoga Moxi. Michele, what's going on? Sitting there so quiet and peaceful.
I'm just listening, just taking it all in. It's all good.
Yeah.
Glad to
Michele
be back.
appeared in an official, like unofficially, as a contestant. I guess some episodes ago, and actually won. And I appreciate you for coming back, Michele. Michele is in the Miami area, and she's going to talk about what she does as far as yoga, because I wanted to do the yoga episode because I really feel strongly about self-help and right now just managing your health. And that's a big part of it, a big part of what we're dealing with, because we do news and politics, and we have to, and especially when I'm curating news and I'm working with Myke, I'm like, every week, and we have to breathe through it. So today's episode 256, we're going to talk about breathing. And now she's officially on, and I'm glad that you're here. And let me say before we get started, I'm a big fan of yoga, and don't laugh at this, especially you, Tanya B. When back in the day, I was doing some weight loss, and it was a big weight loss for me because I was getting into running, and I used the Wii Fit, and I had a balance board. And if you remember, for those of you out there who remember the Wii Fit,
I still got one in the box.
Hey, you know what? I may buy that from you, because the balance board and the game itself in Wii Sports was phenomenal. I mean, that's what got me into yoga. All the stances, it measured your how well you were centered, your balance. And now I don't have that anymore. Everything's evolved to I guess the Twitch, whatever. I don't know. I'm out of the demo.
Stuff out there. Yeah,
it's out there. But I will say that I am doing Apple Fitness. I have the Apple Fitness app, and
Really?
It has yoga as well. It doesn't have, you don't have the balance, because I thought the balance board was perfect. So you can't really weigh measure your balance and all that. But I still do yoga from a standpoint of using that my Apple Fitness. So I'm a big fan of yoga, Michele. Michele, share your background, with people and how you became passionate with yoga.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'm so glad to be back on again and get to meet Tanya in person. Yay. So worked in corporate for 20 years, media, marketing, professional, loved what it is that I did. And on the weekends, did a teacher training and got into yoga, and been doing that it's been 11 years now, and made the decision at a certain point to kind of go 360 and go diving into all of wellness, holistic, organic type of thing, right? But still keeping that professional mindset. And one of the great things about yoga is a lot of people will say, oh, yeah, I need a good stretch. Yoga is not about stretching. Yoga is about strength. Yoga is about breathing. Yoga is about connecting. So you don't need an hour class of bouncing around all over the place, right? The postures and stuff. It's more about the breathing. And once you can breathe well, then you can focus, you can concentrate, you can do things much better. So if you ever notice, for anyone who's out there, if you ever taken a yoga class, you go in and you might be a little angry, right? Because yoga is kind of like therapy also. And you can go into a yoga class and you feel kind of not so great. And by the time you come out of the class, you're like, okay, this is pretty good. I gotta keep this up. So for anyone out there who is thinking about, It's about stretching, about flexibility. It's about, I can't do a handstand or a headstand. It has nothing to do with that. It is about breathing. It is about being mindful. And it's about connecting with yourself. Okay, so want to definitely get that out there. And I love all of that. And have been doing this again for like 11 years. And one of the biggest things that I found out is, this, Tommy B, my husband is a first responder. Okay. Mm-hmm. And being a first responder, he's been a veteran now. It's going to be 20 years. And when you live in that type of space, you are always here. You are always hyper vigilant. When you go to work, you don't know what it is that's going to happen. And I took a certification specifically to deal with first responders and taught him a lot of these methods. And I tell him, it doesn't take that long for you to learn how to breathe and to bring everything back to your baseline, to that safe place, to homeostasis. It's like a Roomba being docked into its dock, right? That's like the safe space. So if you can learn how to breathe, you can deal with your job better on a day-to-day basis. So that was why I said, you know what, we're kind of living in different times right now. It's a different year. There are different things that are going on. If I can't completely control what it is that's happening on the outside, I can control what it is that's happening on the inside. And that's where it comes in. So if you can take 2 minutes out of your day to sit and breathe well, or stand and breathe well, you're good.
Well, let me ask you, how do you think it impacts the overall health? How would you say the overall health of an individual?
Breathing is everything. When you can breathe well, you not only start to sleep better, right? You're moving better, you're thinking better. So we have in yoga, it's called like monkey mind, right? And all of us have this. All of us have this, where we're thinking about what I need to pick up from the grocery store. I got those doctor's appointments. I got to pick up the kids from school, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And your mind is racing with all of these things. How long before you start to get into this crazy state of not breathing well, right? So if you can bring all that down, you will not only have so much better health, okay? Not saying that you can't take it, you have to take care of yourself, right? You have to go to the doctor, go to your doctor's appointments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it'll get you more focused on, maybe I need to add this to my diet in order to eat better. If I'm breathing well before I go to sleep, maybe I'm sleeping better. If I'm moving around in a yoga class or even for 10 minutes, then that's going to put me to sleep better too. It does wonderful things once you get into the groove. And the groove is not like, just so your audience knows, this is not, you have to do something 7 days a week for an hour and be fully committed. It's not like that. You breathe, you mindfully move, you're good. You're really good. And you'll know how to tap into that.
You know, people have, and I've heard the term fight or flight and rest and digest, the state. Can you explain that to our audience, what that means?
Absolutely. So when we are in that state of hypervigilance where you're thinking about 10 different things at once, that's called your sympathetic nervous system. Okay. And we actually need that, because if you're doing something and the body and the mind can sense danger, then you want your body to react in a certain way. You need to take care of business. You need to kind of protect yourself or do what it is that you need to do. So your brain actually takes a shortcut in order to get to that fight, flight, or freeze, all right? So that's your sympathetic nervous system. That's when we're all up here in our heads, okay? Then if you start breathing, and studies have shown this, there's so much science behind this. If you start to breathe, even for a couple of minutes, now your brain is not taking that shortcut anymore. It taps into your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest. So you can process things well. You can focus on things well. And it is a much better state to be in, because if you live with that sympathetic for long enough, okay, in the case of, say, first responders, that's where you get PTSD from. That's where you get unhealthy habits from. That's where you can, even for first responders, you can start getting into unhealthy habits in terms of addictions, right? That's a great space for that. But if you can tap into the parasympathetic, the rest and digest, you're in a good spot, much better spot.
And you talked about the environment too. But go ahead, Tanya B. Go ahead. You got a question.
No, just while you were talking, I timed myself. I just sat there and I did breathing for 2 minutes. And I don't know if it's just what I'm thinking, what I'm wanting, but it's like even my chest feels lighter. And I'm thinking, you can you do breathing in increments, and can it still benefit you, like when you're in traffic or at a traffic light? Or, if you're on a lunch break. No, I mean, because you know how it went. Well, I know how I've been on the Miami, what is that? I used to live on Biscayne, right across from the American Airlines Arena. So you know what that traffic gets like on Biscayne. And it's even worse when it rains and it floods.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, things like that. Atlanta traffic is horrible. I've been in New York. I've been in New York traffic and Philly traffic and Boston traffic. And it's all like, woosah. So, I mean, even, just to share that those 2 minutes that you were talking, I sat here and I did breathing. I'm like, okay, now I want to go out and I'm gonna go. I don't usually go out on Saturdays because I'm in work mode. But like this makes me want, sun or not, I want to go outside now.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, you can absolutely do it in your car. If you're especially at one of those lights that's like 4 minutes long, or it's going to be a long light, you can take that time. You can take that time before you head out of the house, right? Maybe you're having your first cup of coffee in the morning, or you're doing something before you head on out the house. Do it then. Before you go to sleep, do your breathing again so that you can breathe better. So we actually have, and thank you for mentioning that, Tanya, we actually have 2 breathing methods, okay, that everybody can do. You don't have to be any special anything, because yoga is for everyone. If you can breathe, you can do yoga, okay? So the first exercise is called...
Hey, you want me to give you some music? You need some background?
Yeah, no, you can if it's super
okay,
low.
let me set
music?
the mood. I'm gonna give you a little bit.
I want to breathe again. No, Tony Braxton, but okay.
No. It's coming up. Go ahead. You
Okay.
go. You roll.
So the first method is called box breathing. Okay. So when you do your box breathing, when you're breathing, I want you to imagine in your mind that you are creating a box. Okay. So you inhale, you're going to count up to the number 4. You're going to pause for 4. You're going to exhale down for 4. And then you're going to close the box, pausing for 4. Okay, so you're making a complete square. Every single count is for 4. Okay, so if you're willing, Tanya, it sounds like you're already on your way with the breathing. We're just going to add on the box breathing. Yeah.
I am.
Okay,
yeah.
So first thing, you be. Okay?
Let me mute myself.
I want you to mute yourself. I want you to soften your gaze, okay, which means, and I'm going to watch, I'm paying attention, making sure nothing's going wrong. First thing I want you to do is soften your gaze. That just means make your eyes heavy, okay? So you're just connecting in, okay? So you can still peek out a little bit, but I want you to soften your gaze. You got it? Tommy B? Let's go. Soften the gaze, okay? Good. Then you're just breathing naturally. You're inhaling and exhaling through the nose. If you tip to the side, Tommy B, I will make sure that you get back up again. So just breathing naturally in and out through the nose. Good. Okay. Now, on inhalation, we're going to start the box. You're going to breathe up and count to yourself to the number 4. That's the first side of the box. Okay. And then you're going to pause for 4. So you're holding. On your exhale, you're going to exhale down to 4. And the final part of the box, you're going to hold and pause for 4. Okay. So we'll do it again. Take a deep breath in, count up to number 4. Then when you finish that last, come back to your regular breathing, you can, so that is box breathing. You can make it for any count. You want to do, every side is 5. Fantastic. You do maybe a couple of boxes in your quiet place and you're good. Box breathing.
Good stuff. You got
Guilty.
another one? Because I'm feeling great.
I
You get some more?
Wait, I want to go out and rake leaves or cut the grass, and I don't even have a yard.
Yeah, do. One more method for everyone. It's called oceans breathing. Okay. Oceans breathing. So imagine a beach, and on the inhales, the waves come in, and on the exhales, the waves go out. But there's actually a more fun name for this breath for people to remember, and it's called Darth Vader breathing. Okay. So we're gonna bring in our Darth Vader. So this one, we do it from the belly. Okay, so this is a deep inhale coming from the belly, okay, and then the exhale is going to come out through the mouth. However, your mouth is going to be closed, okay? So here goes. You're going to take a deep breath in through the nose, and on the exhale, you're going to make an H sound, like a sigh. And to give you an example, imagine you have a pair of sunglasses or glasses, and you're cleaning your glasses, okay? That's the H sound through the mouth, okay? But your lips will be closed. So you're breathing in through the nose, and then making that H sound. So imagine Darth Vader. Inhale through the nose. Mouth is closed, H sound. One more time. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, H sound, mouth closed. And then come back to your normal breathing.
And that's interesting, I think, because everything I've ever experienced is, you inhale through your nose and exhale, blow it out through your mouth. It's like when you go to the doctor, so let's check your heart, let's check your lungs, breathe in, breathe out. But it's interesting that there are just the littlest thing you can do to change the way you feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think like you said, when we get, into these situations where we have anxiety, like I just anything, you go through a hurricane, a tornado, a tree falls on your house. I was in 9/11, and sometimes you just get so anxious, you actually can forget to breathe.
Yeah.
One of the things, like sometimes you've heard where before you make a rash decision or before you react to something, it's like, okay, breathe, right? Count back from 10. That's exactly what it is that you're doing. What you want to do is, instead of living in that sympathetic nervous system, you tap into your parasympathetic nervous system. So yes, absolutely positive. And there are plenty of breathing methods. Oh my gosh, people have written books on breathing methods. But again, to tap into that overall wellness, to sleep better, to focus better, to just control things a little bit more on what's going on in your body, and to live a healthier life, breathing. That's key.
So true. So true. Good stuff. Y'all give it up for Michele. Yes. Man, my shoulders feel better. Moxi.com. Michele, how can people contact you? I mean, people want more info. They want to, follow you. How can they connect?
Yogamoxi.com is the website, but it's actually a mobile app. There are breathing methods on that we just did, so you can read about it and carry it around with you, so you can tap anytime. It's a free mobile app. And we put it together for yoga teachers and yoga students. So you don't have to know that much about anything to kind of get access and use those resources. And on Facebook, Yoga Moxi, Instagram, Yoga Moxi. And if anyone still needs to reach me, they can go to yogamoxibiz, B-I-Z, @gmail.com. Happy to answer questions and hopefully provide some resources for people.
And that's yogamoxibiz @gmail.com.
When people are looking for a yoga instructor or a yoga program, like you have so many people that go and take an internet class over the weekend and they're not really certified. Like a lot of these plastic surgeons and dentists, and they botch people. What should somebody look for when they're looking for, whether it's an app, a class, a local, even at the YMCA or, your local gym where they offer, yoga for different things?
Totally love that. So yeah, you want to look for a teacher that's definitely certified. But some teachers aren't, and they choose not to be, and that's okay. They've been teaching for a long time though. If you're just starting out for the first time, I say take a gentle yoga class, take a restorative yoga class, because your movements are going to be slower. You're going to be guided a whole lot more. You're not jumping around. It's not heated. You can always move into those yoga classes, right? But you want to give your body a break and know that whatever yoga class you go into, it's breathing first, and then all the postures come second. That's secondary. It's not an Olympic sport. It's not anything like that. You want to move with your body and be super mindful. So start from the beginning and then work your way up.
Good stuff. One more question before we go to break. What do you think is the hardest yoga pose? And I know you said it's not supposed to be as physical, but I remember doing yoga. What was what was the one with
that's
the
tree
leg
pose.
up?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's tree pose.
That was tough.
So here's the thing too. When you go into a yoga class, right? I like personally progressions, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
students, something that's going to make them super successful so that they feel good, but they still get the benefits of what it is that they're learning without tapping into that sympathetic nervous system where they get into flight, fight, or freeze, right? Because that happens. Sometimes you go into a yoga class, right? And you're expecting one thing, and the teacher's all excited, and they're like, we're going to do headstands today. We're going to do handstands today. And half of the like,
no.
They're going to the
Not
back.
me.
They're reading doing something completely different. So
I got an emergency phone call. I'll be right back.
let me done, right? So instead of doing that, offer something that everyone is okay with, like the prep. Okay, I'm going to give you the prep. So in order to get into a headstand or a handstand, you have to have a really strong downward facing dog. Okay. Downward facing.
That's the most famous pose. The most famous.
In downward facing dog, okay, then you're building from there into your headstand and into your handstand. If that doesn't feel good, then why are you bothering? But in terms of hard pose, man, Tommy B, there's so many out there. And some don't go by a yoga teacher that can do the hardest pose like a scorpion, right? Where you're touching your feet, right? Or a handstand. Go with someone that is speaking to you and that is showing you how to do things safely, right? That you're breathing, that you're moving well, and that really wants you to be successful. Everything else will come. I'd rather have a student who is strong and is engaging themselves mindfully than, and I've seen it before, someone who comes to my class and they're doing headstands and everyone else isn't doing headstands. And it's like, what are we doing? Like, it's okay. It's not an Olympics. Not yet.
Good.
Could be, but not yet.
Not yet. Good stuff. Hey, we're going to go to break. And again, thank you, Michele, yogamoxi.com. Excellent information. Hopefully, we'll get you back on here to hang with us, keep us up to date with what's going on. Definitely. But you can definitely support her at yogamoxi.com and all the other socials as well at yogamoxi. Thank you so much, Michele.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, Tanya.
Yeah, so I'll keep breathing. I'm gonna need to breathe until what, 2029, 26, 29, whatever. Yeah.
Don't hold your breath.
Y'all.
Oh,
let's go.
No.
Let's go ahead and take a break. Thank you again, Michele, and we'll come back with the tea. Here we go.
time, y'all. Sipping the tea with Tanya B.
Tanya B.
Yes, I had to breathe.
Have you relaxed?
Dude, Jesus, I don't know.
Thank you again, Michele.
Let me clear my throat.
Yogamoxi.com. And I'll definitely have that on our notes this week. But definitely you can follow Michele at Yogamoxi and also Yogamoxi.com. What you got, Tanya B?
Okay, let's do a Super Bowl recap. Now, this just in. Drake says after the Super Bowl performance, his feud with Kendrick Lamar is over.
So says he.
Wait, did it ever really begin? But it's like, okay, because, it needs to be over because you definitely were on the losing end, Aubrey.
Yeah. He's glad it's over, but,
You may want to go back to Degrassi Junior High, but anyway.
You know what? It's funny because Millennial Nick, who produces the show and does stuff, he sent me the clip of when he got shot on Degrassi.
Wheelchair. I don't mean
For
to
those
laugh.
who know Degrassi, and he was in a wheelchair in Degrassi because he got shot in school. But that's another story. Go ahead.
Back in the day, called you looking like you came from Degrassi Junior High, that was a diss back then.
Yes. The Canadians.
Okay, I know, right?
What you got?
Geez, okay. So I'll just give you I'll use some just one word terms. Kendrick, Samuel L. Jackson, Serena, the Crip Walk, Lettucey, Trombone Shorty, John Batiste, and the jury is still out on his rendition. Some people liked it, some didn't. The ads, the best, I believe, was Nike for women.
Really?
And we know the worst was Kanye and the swastika. I still say somebody at the ad agency, Fox or the NFL, someone's got to take the L for that. I don't know how they let that get by them. That was $8 million. I'm sure they have quite a bit of remorse for taking that money.
Yeah. And before we get to Kanye, because we're going to talk about it, remind me about the Nike ad.
They say you couldn't do it, and you did. So, you had all these female athletes that are now coming into their own. And I say, people can say what they want to say, but, without the, you go the OGs, we can go back to Wilma Rudolph, but then, then you had that age of, Don Staley and, all the WNBA players. And now you've got, I think this is the highest profile WNBA has ever had, even though they still aren't making the money they should be making, with the Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, who, by the way, paid off her mother's mortgage and her mother's car, and some of the other players. And, it's more than just the two of them, too. There are a lot of other powerful women in that league. And, I want to say shout out to someone that I'm working to get on this show was Leah Wilcox. She's the vice president of the NBA. A lot of people don't even know about her.
I'm the Super Bowl ads just aren't what they used to be. They aren't, whereas, I applaud an ad like, you just mentioned, but in terms of just funny, they're just not as funny as they used to be.
It's like now what I wouldn't give to see like a Joan Rivers commercial now, just somebody to just kind of break the ice. I think people were just so overly conscious about being politically correct and, DEI. And I think they went overboard and that took some of the entertainment value out of the commercials.
Yeah, I do think, and this was the one that caught my attention where I said, hey, that's that's unique. That's entertaining. The Harry Met Sally, the Hellman's commercial.
Oh, yes.
Where they did the Harry Met Sally, and she fakes the fakes the orgasm at the table. That I thought was funny.
And that was a moment, in
that was
cinematic.
creative. Go ahead.
Yeah, and that was a moment. That was one of those movies that whether you were black, white, green, or blue,
you knew that scene. You knew that scene.
And I even went to the movies to see that. But Meg Ryan, man, it was kind of rough to recognize her. I don't know what she's doing, but
but Billy Crystal.
But you know what? He is.
You can still say he's funny, but
but he's aging gracefully. I'll give him that.
Yes,
haircut, okay. What do I want to get to next? I got to talk about SNL 50. That's tomorrow. Now, they had the big homecoming concert last night from Radio City Music Hall. It was 3 hours long. And I think I'm going to get up. Well, actually, I fell asleep last night. Let's call this thing a thing. But I didn't breathe. I'm like, okay, well, they've had a lot of folks on that show. And I don't know whether it was just a thing where there was a scheduling conflict. But I could pretty much count the people that look like you and I on one hand. I'm not throwing shade at, the Foo Fighters or Cher or Lady Gaga, but, I'm not counting the Roots because they were the house band. That was their thing. But it was just like Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, John Batiste. I mean, it's like it was and you know a lot more folks that come
But
up
you
on
know,
that show.
Tanya B, let's be real.
I know what I'm looking at. Yeah, I know. And
I
I'm like,
mean,
you know,
and the reason I say that is because even SNL, going back to Chevy Chase and the original cast, you only had Garrett Morris, you know, and
yeah,
then,
but you know,
and
right.
then even from an entertainment standpoint, even though it might have been cutting edge with entertainment, you know, you got to keep in mind, when was the first rapper actually on SNL? You know what I mean? So,
You know, I can tell you,
who?
it was the Funky 4+1 rapping and rocking the house, and they did not invite them back.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
For
I
obvious
mean,
reasons.
so you know, when you look at the, you know, collectively everybody they've had on, it is few and far between. I mean,
Yeah,
you know, of course he's gone now, but I remember when Prince was on. You know,
yeah.
Prince did a
You know,
phenomenal job. Yeah,
the Funky 4+1 only got on at the insistence of Debbie Harry from
yeah,
Blondie. That's
yeah,
how they got on.
yeah.
And people probably
Because
said, "You did
SNL's
that?"
got to keep it real. SNL's got
Right.
to keep it real, even
Yeah.
when it came down to cast members.
Trying to
You
be
know,
relevant.
you
Yeah.
had Garrett Morris, you had what,
But
Eddie
first,
Murphy,
you know,
you
like
had
give him his
Chris
flowers.
Rock, huh? Go ahead.
Yeah, I said give Garrett his flowers. Like you said, Tracy Morgan's coming back, Leslie Jones, Chris Rock, Keenan ain't going nowhere, Thompson.
No, no.
I never really heard much about Tim Meadows. I know there were a couple of other
Yeah,
black cast members who
yeah,
passed away. And then, you know, since Damon Wayans got fired, will he come back? Because they fired him.
yeah. So, you know, I mean, you know, when it
Yeah.
comes down to it, it's a, you know, a staple in America. You know, I think when what's his name, Lauren Michaels is done, it's going to be done because I think he's the driving force behind it.
Oh, yeah.
But it was never really all that diverse. You know, it could do
No,
some funny stuff. It was never all that diverse.
it was not a show for us.
Yeah,
If
but it
that
was
makes
funny as hell. It had some funny
Yeah,
stuff.
I know.
And I like the Chris Farley years.
Yeah, it comes
After
and
Eddie
goes
Murphy,
with the
but
funny.
yeah,
It comes
yeah.
and goes with the funny.
Come and goes,
But you
comes and
can't,
goes,
you know,
yeah.
you can't forget Eddie as James Brown in the celebrity hot tub party. You can't forget that.
Yeah, so
You know,
true.
that's one of those things. You know, and Garrett Morris, our top story tonight.
Yeah, baseball's been very, very good to me.
Very, very good to me. Yes, and you know what's funny? Tracy Morgan came back and did a little, I think kind of like an homage to that. He had he was Dominican Lou. You know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
For sure, for
yeah, that's gonna be interesting. So I will be watching tomorrow. I'm probably gonna tape it and then go back and watch it. But even for the music clips, if you have Xfinity, it's free on Comcast, and they have been going hard. They got SNL like 10, 20, 30, 40, and 50. So they're really milking this cow.
Oh yeah. You know they are. Right. What else
Big
you got
time.
next? What else? You got?
The other thing is like I just got to say this. You know, Kendrick Lamar was historical, and it took me a couple of times to watch his performance to really understand. He was just so on the low and so smooth with his jabs and even his digs that it went over my head before I was able to get it. And, you know, and that's why he got a Pulitzer Prize. But also, I just say Kansas City got their wig split, and I'm very happy for Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts and, you know, A.J. Brown and the Philadelphia Eagles. And these now, all of a sudden, I guess Travis Kelce got his feelings hurt. Now there's some talk of his retiring, but I'll just say 1, 2, 3, anybody care, not me.
Yeah. It's so sad, Tanya B, about the shooting. You know, as we
You know, there
tape,
were
it's
two
the
women.
day after the Super Bowl
There was
parade.
2 women that got shot at that parade.
Wow.
2 women. And then even the GM, I forgot his name.
Howie Roseman.
Yeah, Howie got hit with a beer can. It's like square. You see the arc of the can in his forehead, and Howie just said, "Hey, I go hard." But you know, aside from there's always going to be some foolishness somewhere.
Yeah,
You know, there was more people got shot at the Kansas City parade last year, but people, but Philly, live up to your name, the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection. Okay, now let's talk about I got so much.
We gotta do Sly. We gotta do Sly.
Okay, hold on. Before you do Sly, let me just talk. I know we don't talk about Kanye. You know, he and Bianca are supposed to be getting a divorce. I'm wondering, there's no prenup. I'm wondering, will she wake up from her Stepford wife's comatose look and speak? Because she's supposed to be so brilliant and intelligent, but you couldn't prove that by me because the only thing I ever heard her say was Kanye controls my body.
But let me ask you a quick question, Tanya B. If she were black and he did all this to her and not being European as she is, do you think there would be as much of an uproar?
I think if she were black, I think the uproar would be why, the uproar would be 2 things. Why is he disrespecting her like that? And then the other one is, girl get some self-confidence and some self-respect. It's a bad example. But I'm telling you right now, I'm sure Kim K is somewhere going, thank God that's not my problem anymore. But you better watch out for that little, because I think those kids, she probably has had them evaluated because, I mean, let's call a thing a thing. But that little Northwest, she looked like she is 2 steps from the pole in the stroll.
Well, you
Just
know,
like
the one
Charlie
thing that
Sheen's
bothers
daughter.
me about this, because, you know, it's just, I mean, routine to go in on Kanye. You know, it's routine right now.
But he get him
But
to
let me say this, and I'll
Okay.
throw it back to you. I think it really, for me, the thing that bothers me the most is that he continues to have this crazy number of followers. You know what I mean? And the other thing is, as he continues to do what he does, they continue to follow him and they continue to stand up for him, especially in social
Support him.
media, and support him. And you know what? I'm not here to cancel people. You know, I'm not into that. You make a decision based on whether or not it impacts you personally, individually, and then you make the decision. But it's just amazing that he continues to have millions and millions of followers, and the followers emulate, are interested in doing and supporting all that he does. I think that's the scary part. The scary part about Kanye is, you know, Kanye is Kanye, and that I'm not normalizing it, but his influence is really what you have to be afraid of. And I'll go back to you. I just want to say that.
Just like 45, 47. You know, you know, it's like people like that. It's almost like a cult. You know,
It
they
is.
they really gravitate to and engage with the weak of mind.
And he knows
You
he
know,
can say everything, and they're going to support him.
but again, but I said when you have people like Leo Cohen coming after you about this whole, you know, with the swastika thing, you know, if there's anybody who can shut a door in just kind of really in or out of the music industry, Leo can do it. So it's like at some point in time, you know, he's gonna have another meltdown. Write it down. I said it. And, you know, he's going to tangle with the wrong person, and it's not
Well,
going to be
it's
nice.
kind of like Tanya B. He already has
Well, I mean, no, but
multiple wrong people.
he hasn't gotten that one. You
Who's
know,
the
and
one?
I'm saying, where's the
Jesus.
ACLU? Where's the Anti-Defamation League? You
But
know,
you
I'm
know what?
like,
Let me say this, Tanya B. And this is what I intended to say. The ADL came out strong this week. They really did. And you know what? They came out strong with another statement about him. And people got online and said, look, we appreciate you coming out the way you did this week, but why didn't you have that same energy a few weeks ago at the inauguration when it came down to Elon? And they were saying, you know, instead of giving him a pass for an awkward gesture, you know, which I don't know, maybe if somebody out there knows whether or not he did it, I don't even think Elon came out to address what he did. I don't even think he came out and said, hey, it was awkward. He's never made a statement. I just want to say that because it is
on the edge
not
too.
to normalize what Kanye did at all. But if you're a civil rights organization, you got to be even-handed. You know, and that goes for the NAACP, that goes for the SCLC, that goes for the ACLU. You got to be even. You got to be even-handed. Wrong is wrong, period. And if you make a decision to go after one, you got to make a decision to at least go after one or educate. And I just think the ADL looks.
They fell short. And I think
short.
people think when they have money, they can do anything. And I think Elon and Kanye and 45, 47, who doesn't have as much money, as people think he does, you know, they think that, you know, they get a pass. And, you know, imagine if someone, because I've seen politicians on lower levels, like in states and in counties, that did what Elon did, and they lost their jobs.
Yeah.
You know, you can apologize all day long, but when the receipts are there, the damage is done. So, you know,
it just looked awkward to me, Tanya B, on the real, because
they
did come out with the statement. They did come out with a statement this week, and I think everybody expected the statement. But as hard as they go against Kanye, which is warranted, which is easily warranted, because let me tell you, can I tell you this? I saw the commercial. I'm sitting there in real time, and I'm like, what the F is this? You know, so I go to my phone, I bring it up, and all these T-shirts are there, right? You got all these T-shirts at, I'm not even going to say the website, not warranted on the podcast.
Exactly.
But then the next day, I go back because I see the article, and there's only that one shirt there. And you know what that one shirt was? So I'm like, damn, this dude. But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just had to
Okay.
get that
You know,
in.
back in the 90s, Jodeci had that album out, Diary of a Mad Band.
Hey, let me tell you, one of my favorite albums of all time.
Ah.
Listen to it, hit after hit. My heart belongs to you. Cry for you. You want to go down?
Oh, it was good because I'm saying you better listen
Smashes.
to, you know, things in Jodeci. They're going to be Diary of a Bad Band. You got JoJo with the stroke. Now KC has a very severe case of pneumonia, and pneumonia can take you out of here. And when you sing for a living, when you have pneumonia, there's a good chance you will never sound the same. They sound like crap right now anyway, but it is what it is. But they've had to cancel shows, and he's in the hospital. So I wish him well. I hope he does recover.
Let me tell you, Jodeci is tragic. It is. There's, if Jodeci's the band that when they're missing from the 90s, it's just almost like Boyz II Men still kind of doing the Vegas stuff in a limited capacity.
They crossed over too.
But Jodeci not being able to carry on that legacy is a chasm. That's like the Grand Canyon because they were so big in the 90s with the hits. So, you look at the Tonys, Tony, and Jodeci. Jodeci was just mass. I mean, they still amazed me as a, and I hate to call them a boy band because they weren't like that. They were just a musical force.
Yeah.
And it's sad that they can't exist right now. It's kind of like,
exactly.
But speaking of that, let's get into Sly. Let's get into Sly. Sly reminds me of that Gap. You know what I mean? Because Sly, and again, the Sly documentary is available on Hulu right now, and I've been waiting for it for a while. And there have been other documentaries on Sly, but they've all been from a different perspective. This is really from a Black perspective. So you got Jam and Lewis, you got Nile Rodgers, you got Andre 3000, you got Shaka Khan, George Clinton, Sober George too, I think. Vernon Reed of Living Color.
Living Color, yes.
D'Angelo.
Yes.
You had the band members. You had Larry Graham. You had Cynthia. You had Greg, the original drummer. Jerry, who left.
Jerry Martin, yeah.
And you got, the sister and the brother, and I just say, man, it is one of those stories that needed to be told because it speaks to that Black genius, that person who's the like a Prince or the people
we needed this documentary.
We do. We
needed it.
It is probably authentically one of the best docs I've seen, along with the Luther this year. Well needed. The lowest of the lows, the highest of the highs. And it talks to, about the extreme pressure on Black artists, which a lot of Black artists feel. I think it's inspirational. But one of the other things, it's a cautionary tale that a lot of Black artists just continue to ignore,
Yeah. And you know what? We also don't, what else we ignore, and this is the reality of it, people that are creators, like on the level of a Prince, a Michael Jackson, a D'Angelo, a Sly, they're so intelligent, and even Kanye, that they are so this close to the edge. And some can teeter on the edge, some come back, and then like a Kanye or a Sly, they go over the edge, but it's been unchecked. Imagine if what would have happened had Sly gotten help. I mean, really, because it's like this man it's almost like I say that they're so smart they're crazy. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way.
If you love music, you say exactly that when you watch this, because it's called what? Sly Lives: The Burden of Black Genius.
Or just then they cross out the Black and just genius.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, I gotta give Questlove his props, man. He just did an excellent job weaving in like the Black genius aspect from a lot of different artist angle into Sly, because I don't think, because see, I came along, and you remember, I mean, but I came along unfortunately toward the end of Sly. I knew the music through my older cousins and family, but the big jam for me as a pause button DJ. You remember what the pause button had? The cassette recorder next to the radio. You making your tapes.
Yeah.
You pause when you hear, you release the pause when the song comes on, and then you pause it when it's done, and then or you just let it roll.
You hit play, you get press play.
Family Affair was that record, one of my first pause button on the cassette records. And I will tell you, it was an amazing song, but it pushed me to go back and listen to the entire catalog of Sly. And I've always had room for that music. Go ahead, Tanya B.
You know what else is interesting? Sly was
Yeah.
one of the first, the first integrated bands, but Sly was played on black radio and he's played on pop and rock radio. And in that time, that was major because a lot of black artists, didn't have that luxury of doing that. And then the other thing is, I think I shared with you this, my first experience with Sly was with my father, at these concerts. And I was I remember the second time, I was just mesmerized. I'm like, oh my goodness. And, I remember asking Freddie Stone for his autograph. And as creative and talented as Freddie Stone is, he was so painfully shy, Tommy B, that when we were backstage, he was hiding behind a door.
Wow. Hey, Tanya B, let's do this. Let's take a quick break. And the break that I'm going to take this time, we may go a little bit over this show, but the break I'm taking this time, we've got, hopefully I can get Myke on the phone. If I can't, we're just going to wrap up the show, but I'm going to give it a shot.
All right, we
you know how Myke is.
Might be calling in tomorrow at 12 o'clock.
But no,
Myke.
I just got to track him down. But we did a post, as we tape again, Valentine's Day was the day before. And we did the top 10. I asked Myke, hey, man, give us your top 10 Valentines. So the break that we take, if you're watching the show right now, if you're watching the show after we've taped, it is Myke's top 10 video of like his, his list of top 10. I'll make it available for everybody. But let's go ahead. We'll play this and I'll come back with Myke. Okay? Here we go.
Oh. Here we go.
Hey, y'all. I've been trying to get this guy on the podcast for 20 years. It's been about 20. It's kind of like trying to get Sly on,
They're trying to get Sly to show up. Okay.
Oh my God! Don't compare him to Sly.
No. But let me tell you this, y'all. If you love slow jam radio format, he is, to me, he's on the Mount Rushmore of slow jam radio host to me.
Boy, listen to him.
I got to do it, man.
What?
He ruled in DC. Tanya B, come on.
Yeah. I know. I have receipts. But the thing is, these young boys out here who think they're doing something need to take notes from MJ.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Boy, y'all need to stop.
No, man. I got to say it. I was in Dallas for 7 years.
Yeah.
And we had a radio station in Dallas. We went through a couple of slow jam hosts in our night mood show. And let me tell you, when this guy came to the city, he took the city. You know what I'm saying? It was not like they knew the music. They be calling them asking, hey, where's Myke?
I don't care about the music. Wait, no, not where's Myke. Where Myke at?
That's it. There you go. But Tanya B, you know him well. The one and only Myke Julius. Let me give it up for this brother, man.
Boys, you all are
I'm just thinking
either too kind or
drunk.
No,
Well, it's too early in the afternoon for y'all.
Not really, but but
maybe not T-Bird, but for Thomas for sure.
Let me say this, y'all. It's Valentine's weekend. I did hit Myke up, and Myke and I talk a lot. We talk all the time.
Yeah.
But he, I asked him, hey, Myke, come up with a list. Hey, what are your 10 favorite songs, man? And he came up with a phenomenal list. I played the video, if you're watching the show right now, that features the songs. But I want to go through the list. Woman of Color, and any order, basically. But Woman of Color, Gary Taylor with Will Downing and Scotty Scott. That's the remix. I'd give anything, Gerald Levert, Whip Appeal, Babyface, Here I Go Again, Smokey and the Miracles, Never Felt Like This, Brian McKnight. I definitely remember that being played in Dallas. Other Side of the World, Luther, Anyone Who Had a Heart, Luther, Fire and Desire, Rick and Tina, and at your number one slot, but you said you can move these around, Stevie Wonder, man, You and I. You know, Myke, how did you narrow, considering like all your experience and exposure, how did you narrow it to these 10? How'd you do that?
Well, it's like the old axiom. People may not remember what you said, but they'll always remember how you made them feel. These are songs that elicited a feeling from you. It wasn't just, let's just stand in blue lights in the basement slow jam. When I listened to You and I by Stevie, I heard God has put us together. That's the part that stood out to me. Yeah. Regardless of what I knew about Stevie.
Yeah.
but still.
Put it all aside, yes.
That part.
Fire. What'd you say, Tanya?
No, go ahead.
I just said that part. Yeah.
Yeah. Fire and Desire, Rick and Tina. Now, when you talk about memorable intros to a song, that song has 2 hits on the drum, a snare and a tom-tom. Bop, boom, boom. 3 hits. And it's as recognizable as Just My Imagination with the Temptations in terms of intro and musicality. So when I look at music, I look at not being all deep and scientific about it, but Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the universe, you look at energy, frequency, and vibration. Well, the frequency is the radio station or the platform that you're on. The energy is what comes from the vibe that you put out, hence the name of my show, Love Vibration. That's the vibe. So Luther, I could have picked 4 or 5 songs from Luther. Gerald Levert, Babyface, I could have picked 4 or 5 songs from either one of them. You know, either one of them. The honorable mentions are too long to list, but Smokey and the Miracles, ooh, baby, that was the beginning of it. Really for Motown and Smokey. I mean, Bad Girl and etc. But again, I listen to songs as to how they make me feel, even up tempo. So it's ironic in mentioning Dallas because that was 100% feeling.
Yeah.
Not many jocks get the opportunity to have autonomy to play what they want to play on their show at night, and I thank you for it. And it's one of the things that one of the gifts that I've been giving in over almost a 40-year radio career is the ability to play what I wanted to play.
But let me preface that by saying it's just like the Jerry Butler song, "Ain't Understanding Mellow." We had to,
Right.
we had to find it. We had to find it, and we found it. Yeah, so it was definitely cool.
Yeah.
Definitely. Hey, man, let me ask you, Myke.
Sure.
When you know, one thing is I don't see a lot of currents, anything close. Well, a few close.
I wonder why.
Tell the people. but you know, that's one thing. You know, and that's not a criticism. It's an observation. The other thing is, you know, I think for what you do and the music you appreciate, I say this music is so important to our current climate. You know what I mean? So I want you to address those 2 things while I've got you on the show. Go ahead.
Well, one thing is my boy Kenny Burke from the Stair Steps. Kenny uses the phrase that they're cheating on the lyrics. So you hear a love song and you think it's a hook, and it turns out to be the only line that they're saying because they're really short on the verse lyrically. So in terms of the creative spirit, the energy is the same, except they're not submitting themselves to it. You mean to tell me that October London wouldn't have gotten launched if it had not been for the fact he was the closest to Marvin Gaye since Marvin left?
Yeah.
I mean, why October London? Because he brought a 70s, 80s vibe to the table. What did he do? I don't mean the charges, I mean, but with Big and
everything.
recycling of the music.
Sampled everything.
Yeah.
Yes, but what years? He went into the Isley Brothers catalog and saved them, hip hop music, and Urban AC at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot to be desired by the vocalist of the day. First off, they can't sing. A lot of them can't sing.
Hello.
And at the risk of making some people angry, since that's not the line of work we're in, I won't mention certain names. But there are a lot of female singers, some who sound like Billie Eilish, or whatever her name is.
Eilish, yeah.
Yeah, her. And it's are you singing or are you whispering? Are you using drugs? I mean, where is the vocal ability? That's why Luther will be timeless. That's why Ronnie Isley will be timeless. Any number of talents will be timeless, not just because of the lyrical content of the song, but the very approach to the music. Let me give you a hint, for example, or an example. Ronnie Isley. How many times have you listened to Ronnie Isley lead a song, or his brother O'Kelly Isley? Because many times people thought it was Ronnie Isley leading and it was O'Kelly, not Ronnie. But many times you're listening to the ghost of Sam Cooke. When you listen to the textural approach that Ronnie Isley puts to some of the songs, you're really listening to Sam Cooke.
Wow.
You know? So when you listen, who are these people reciting today? What's the boy's name that always catch a case because he can't seem to keep his hands to himself? I don't mean Chris Brown. I mean that other one. Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you. Besides not being able to keep his hands to himself, when I listen to him, when I listen to Eddie Kendricks, I may not know the song, but I know Eddie's voice. I couldn't pick a Trey Songz out of a crowd of two people. Why? Because the distinctive personality, the distinctive spirit. There's nothing about him that makes me, and Trey, I mean, well, I guess if he's listening, he's just listening.
Oh, man.
But there is a depth of spirit to a love song. That's what makes it valuable. Ooh, Baby, Baby, and Nearer, My God, to Thee, to me are the exact same things. They're hymns.
Wow.
Because love comes from the same source. Real love.
Hey, let me ask you, any vibe on the Bruno Mars Silk Sonic project? I'm just putting it out there because a lot of folks feel the nostalgia. Now, to me, Myke, and you and I may have had the conversation. When I first heard Silk Sonic, because I'm a brother of a certain age, I immediately thought of Switch. If you remember Switch from Motown, I immediately thought of Switch.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Well, first off, when you say Bruno Mars, let's scratch the surface and go deeper to my boy Brody Brown from 1500 or Nothing. Brody Brown is really responsible for Bruno Mars. Brody Brown is the bass player for 1500 or Nothing. And I would encourage all of you, especially what do you call it? Musical files or music files?
The aficionados or
that'll do.
Audio files, yeah.
Audio files. Look up 1500 or Nothing. The only group of producers they are behind is Pharrell and the Neptunes. they're ahead of the pack and everyone else. Aside from the fact that my nephew is CEO,
Wow.
they are responsible for Bruno Mars' Flavor. Now, not taking his talent away, because that's a talented brother. But, when you look at Bruno Mars, you see a little bit of Michael, you see a little bit of this one, you see a little bit of that one. And I mean, we all do that.
Yeah.
We all do that.
Yeah.
But Anderson .Paak,
What a combination, dog.
all I have to do is look at his hairstyle and can tell what's coming out of him.
Yeah, so true. Tanya, but you got any questions for Myke, man? You got anything?
I'm like, the 80s called Anderson .Paak, they want their wig back. I mean, the 70s, I'm sorry.
No,
Girl.
Ike Turner called.
Wait a minute. Tyler Perry's show's called, and they want their wig
please,
back.
yes. Oh, Jesus. Mary and Josephine. Oops.
But you know what?
Okay.
Like I said, Myke, when I heard
Yes.
them and I heard Leave the Door Open, because I was a huge Switch fan. And I know,
Yes.
Jermaine bought them to Gordy.
Yes.
And that was kind of Jermaine's group, man, back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And I to this day, regardless of how much hoodlum lifestyle they led in the background, just probably one of the most talented groups that
Switch?
Switch, yes.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
Why you call them hoodlums, eh?
because they took, come on, man. No, well,
Oh,
Switch,
talking
it
about-
wasn't
Wait a minute,
Switch,
you talking
it was
about-
the bars.
You're talking about, I was about to say, you was talking about the bars.
But still, Tommy and Bobby. Tommy and Bobby.
Yeah. Come on now.
Right.
Come
right.
on, it wasn't the other guys,
Right.
because James
What? I call
Ingram's
them
brother was in it, but he didn't do
Jody.
that. Go ahead.
I call the bards. I call them the Kennedys of the music industry. It's like they have all this talent and intelligence, and it's like they made a deal with the devil, and they have been cursed.
Yeah.
Woo. Anyway,
And you gotta love how talented they were. It
they're
was
very.
off the chart.
It was horrifying.
It's like we need all those people.
There's you can be the genius,
Yeah.
okay, but your genius creates an atomic bomb that wipes out a whole city.
Yeah.
So are you a genius or a mass murderer?
And
Well,
that's
yeah.
interesting that we're having the conversation, because we're
talked
just
about that.
The Sly Stone, Black Genius. I mean, and Myke, I know you haven't had a chance to see it yet, but I think you'll appreciate it, because everything you're saying is right. I'm gonna leave it at that.
So
I have a few of my favorite slow jams I'd like to throw into the mix for just a second here.
Okay.
And these are songs that when you, like you said, Myke talked about like Fire and Desire. You hear like, I can name that tune in 3 notes. For me, it's, you got to throw some Delphonics, Philly Soul up in there, because you got to say William Hart wrote some of the greatest, most sampled songs ever.
yeah.
La La means I love you. Didn't I blow your mind this time? Come on.
The Emotions
That
called them Shoulders. Their nickname for the Delphonics was Shoulders, because the way they did the choreography, they always had the
everything I know,
shoulders
shoulders went up and down. Yes.
Yeah.
But I got to give him 5 on it for that. Also, for me, the OJ Stairway to Heaven.
Oh,
And then, I think of these songs that, for me, that like make the hair stand up on my arms. It's like, ooh, and for me, it's 2 songs that people may not have heard of, because one was an album cut. Don't Stop This Feeling by GQ, and Dedicated to the One I Love by the Temprees. And I am done. You can have my lunch money if you put that on.
Hey, let me throw. I'm gonna throw my one in. I would only add Voyage to Atlantis, because it's just a vibe. Between that and the other Isleys was Let Me Down Easy, which
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
The intro on Voyage to Atlantis with Ernie Isley on that crying guitar is reminiscent. It's amazing. It came out before Prince does, but it's reminiscent of Prince's work.
Yeah, so true.
So that was, I think, little Jimi Hendrix with him being in the band, which was interesting because he just went so far left. But, we talk about these songs that are timeless classic songs. And just like you were saying, Myke, with Fire and Desire, Voice to Atlantis. And for me, when you hear, the intro of did not blow your mind this time. You know it. So,
Oh yeah.
and that
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of music
Yeah.
not being made anymore. The only time you hear that is when they all take it and they sample it. And I think it's because it's not that they can't sing. The lack of creativity really isn't there. I think they're being souped up to be something that they just aren't.
Yeah, so true.
Yes.
Because they're not writing the music. But you think about it, except for Jam and Lewis and Babyface in L.A., who else could fill the shoes partially of Gamble and Huff? Anybody out there today doing it like them? Nobody.
That Philly soul, man. That Philadelphia International is just.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Hey, Myke, I just got to say thank you, man. The very few people I would go over my. Tanya B knows. I don't go over my hour for few, man, but I definitely.
It was worth it.
I got to put him. He's on my Mount Rushmore of Quiet Storm talent, man.
Let me throw this out before you hit dump. I mentioned Kenny Burke earlier, and I'm doing this not because he and Tanya are friends now, but this brother redid Ooh Child. And when I tell you 98, literally, no embellishment, 98% of the people who hear Kenny Burke's version of Ooh Child breaks down in tears.
Wow.
It's a spiritual experience, more so than just the true meat and potatoes of Ooh Child. Things are going to get easier. Really comes to the forefront in the texture of it. There are a lot of other things I could say, but this is music that you want to be looking out for. Because one thing, Thomas, that I wanted to say before I go really is I ask baby boomers, where do you go to get new music? And most of them go to the Abba store. They have no idea. So if there's anything that we can do, my group is launching an internet radio station to super serve the baby boomers, because we know that a record label is not going to give a 50-year-old anybody a record deal if there's no market for them to reach out to.
Well, they don't know. They wouldn't know what to do with somebody with that much talent or that age, because they just think in the cyclical from 1 to 21. Number two, nowadays they don't need a label, which is that's part of the beauty of it, that you have what you're launching, Myke, and the fact that these artists don't need labels. And I know a lot of people, I know you know them too, that make 7 figures and don't have record deals and get minimal airplay.
Yeah.
Howard Hewitt, like Frankie and Maze, ain't had a real record release since the 90s. I mean, he's released some stuff, but it was boutique minor label stuff.
Yeah.
But Howard works like a bus driver. Every time I talk to that dude, he's going and coming from someplace.
Yeah. But he gets it. And you know what? He learned our business. It might have been the hard way, but he learned the business. And that's why people like Howard Hewitt and Will Downing and God bless Jeffrey Osborne, that's why they survive.
Yeah.
Well, that and having hit records don't hurt. Because you can sing your butt off, but if you don't have any hits,
right? I mean, they have the hits, back there, but they don't need. It's like, why even try to go through that if you're a Jeffrey or Howard? You have your built-in audience. Yes, they're aging, but people, and those are people that have some more disposable income. And just to go piggyback real quick on what you said about Kenny Burke and Ooh Child, I mean, what a perfect time for that song to come out now, because Lord knows we need it.
Ooh, Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Hallelujah, Jesus.
Thomas, you may have to cut this up into 2 shows.
Oh, you got to.
I'm sitting there trying to figure it out.
You got to come back.
But you do have to come back and do a full episode, man. Myke, again, Mount Rushmore. What will you be like, FDR?
Just pick a black face and put it up there.
This get Myke, the front, the side, the other side, the
Yeah.
profile. Here's your three. Here's your
And he
three.
probably would put us on Stone Mountain instead of
Oh,
Mount
shit.
Rushmore.
Myke, hey
Wait.
man,
Good.
Yes, my brother.
stay warm in Chicago, brother. I
Hey,
hope
you see all
when
that snow on the ground? That's
I,
impossible. It
I,
snowed this
But
morning.
wait, let me
3
tell you,
o'clock in the morning, it's snowing.
yeah,
I'm like, God, what's
but wait,
wrong? Who pissed you off?
I know, man.
Thomas, I saw
Yeah.
Mike Julius in the snow last time, and he was like pimping
Oh,
with a
Myke.
fur. Wait, he had the coat and the hat, not the hat, the
See,
hat.
he never said Thomas. He would always call you up from the studio and say, Tomas, hey. I can't even do it. I don't have the voice for it. But
Oh,
you know.
stop.
Myke, hey man, but on the real, thank you so much, man.
My
To
pleasure,
get
dude.
you guys go to the QR code on this episode or our links, and I have the top 10 that Myke most graciously provided to us, taking the time, man. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate you again. Let me give you your applause. How can people connect with you? How can people follow you, man? Give them a way to follow you.
Well, just give me a few minutes. We're launching the internet radio station. I can't give you the call letters of it now because we
You can't.
hijacked the temple. Oh no, we can, but we hijacked the temple and they went to sleep on this, and so we got it.
All right.
And in the launch of it, oh, it is. I played some of the music for one person, and she said it was hypnotic. I am a true disciple of press play and walk away.
And you know what, Myke, I'm sorry, you just said something, and we talk about this. You know when we used to have the no skip albums? Yeah, I guarantee you, I haven't heard it, but I know how you roll. You will have one of those shows that people will not get up and move. They won't go, oh, let me go over here and come back. You will have the no skip radio show. Trust me.
Yeah. There's a singer whose name I won't mention, but the hint is he's incredibly monotone, and when he sings, he sounds like this. Oh, baby, baby.
Come on, baby, make it last forever.
Exactly. The gospel according to the book of Michael, I am on that earth.
Good stuff.
All right, there you go.
Enough said.
Plenty.
Thomas, edit that out.
Let me give you an applause so I can have an edit point. There you go. Myke, thank you so much, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate you all both.
And I will be in touch with you, and definitely, man, keep in touch.
For sure.
Let us know what's going on with that.
For sure.
Come
sure.
see us real soon.
All right. Thank you,
right,
sir.
Leave the snow.
Right now. Talk
Thank
to you.
Take care.
Bye now.
All right.
Yeah,
Myke
man.
Julius, everyone. Yeah.
Let me tell you. Yeah, I'll give it up. There you go. Myke and I, man, I tell you, when we first started working together, it was like, if you've ever seen Private Parts with Stern,
movie?
it was like, I was pig vomit. And
oh God. No, not pig vomit.
But we developed that, that relationship to where, he earned his trust. And I will tell you, again, I put him on Mount Rushmore, man, because he understands his audience. He delivers, not always in a traditional way, but in terms of how he brings people together. And again, I mean, he used the key word. It's emotional. It's spiritual. The way he does what he does. And there are very few people who can do what he does.
That's very true. And he needs to get his flowers. And like I said, that's the thread in the fabric of our culture that we cannot. We need to make sure we just keep doing the in out push out and keep the fabric going.
Yeah,
it's it's legacy for us.
Yeah, so true. All right, y'all, let's go ahead.
It's time to wrap it up. This is the G Podcast.
Tanya B, what you got? I know you off next week. You're doing something special. Tell the people.
I'm hosting a Black History Honors program, but that is for the National Black Radio Hall of Fame. But I am going to receive a proclamation from Mayor Andre Dickens of Atlanta for my more than 30 years in the music and entertainment industry. So I guess I got to clean up and put a suit on.
Yes, good stuff. And definitely make sure we get the proclamation so we can post.
I will. And I tell Bye, he can reclaim he can have all my time. Hey, Howard.
All right, y'all. So make sure y'all scan the QR code if you're watching. Definitely the QR code is also on our logo. all our links are there, social media links, and also in terms of leaving us a voice message. You can always do that. The link is in there as well. I promise to play back the best. Support the podcast. 25 for 2025 is still happening. You can go on, not asking for the monthly, just give it to us once a year. Boom. Use the QR code and hit the link. Also, just to let you guys know, because I don't think people are aware that we are a Spotify podcast. So go on, if you have Spotify, look for This Is the G Podcast. Don't go on there, The G Podcast. Go on there at This Is the G Podcast. Follow us on Spotify. You can, of course, Spotify has the video version and the audio version. So you choose, but you can also go on. We have certain polls, and we'll have a poll on this one as well. But you can actually, on episode 255, we ask about Kendrick Lamar's performance. And you can grade it, A through F, and actually go on there and grade episode 255. Any final shout outs? I know you acknowledge
my DMV people, my Boston Beantown homies. I want to say a shout out to what's his name? Troy in Ames, Iowa. I don't know how he found us, but hey, and of course, our OG from day one, KW.
Yes. Thank you so much, brother. We appreciate you. All the folks who check us out and have been with us for a long time. And got it again. Talib, thank you so much. Bye. Feel better, man. Feel better. And again, we appreciate everybody who supports the show and keeps us doing what we do. This is what we love. Yeah. So I don't do long extended versions. But it was good to get Myke on this week, and it was definitely good to have Michele. Michele, Yoga Moxi, thank you so much for doing what you do, and she's a big supporter of the show as well. So appreciate y'all. You had something else? One more thing?
No, just the next week you'll be doing the tea, so I'll be tuning in after the fact.
I'm gonna bring it.
And I'll let you know. I know you'll do a good job. I know you'll hold it down.
I'm gonna try to hold it down. I'm gonna bring it.
You will.
All right, y'all, with that, thank you so much again, Tanya B. With that, episode 256 is in the can. Y'all have a great week, y'all. Peace and power to the people. Have a good week.
Get the power. Yes.
You've been listening to This Is the G Podcast. And This Is the G Podcast is a production of the Castropolis Podcast Network. Thanks for listening.